Yo, my people, what is up? This is just a quickie. This is for pure fun, shits and giggles. But it's a good example of taking the opportunity to line up everything. This is a kitchen sink attack. Just played it, 5-minute blitz game. Blitz. Don't talk to me about blitz. And I'm rated 1183. For some reason, if I'm going to do something properly, it appears I need to take my time. Okay, so we have the Alekhines defense, or Elyekin's defense. Opponent's rated 1102, so a serious play. Okay, so I've been looking into this myself recently, and it's begging e5. That's the whole point of Alekhines, right? So what you're trying to do to white is it's like an Aikido move. You're trying to say, okay, come at me in the middle, right? And I'm going to avoid your attack, and I'm going to try and use it against you later on. So black's trying to get white to overextend himself in the middle, and then is going to try in the hypermodern way to take advantage of that later on. So the normal, there's a bunch of moves here. You've got d4, looks very sensible, solidify the center, c4 hits the knight again, the knight will go back here. But I just decided to play something less usual and just play knight f3, get ready to castle, defend my pawn that way. Okay, we have e6, and now I bring up my bishop. Again, I've just cleared the way for my king to castle. Minor pieces first, kingside pieces as well, if you want to castle early. He brings out his bishop. So then I'm looking at, right, has his knight got a route down to here? No, he hasn't. So I simply go ahead and castle, right? Now the knight comes around here, and I'm thinking, this looks like a mistake to me because I have a double attack. Can you spot a double attack? d4 hits the bishop, discovery against the knight. Okay. So the knight now gives up his life for the g-pawn. So goodbye, Gary. Thank you for playing. It's been lots of fun. Early retirement for Gary. And now the bishop retreats, obviously, to get out of danger. So we've got a very, very imbalanced situation. White has the center and space. I'm controlling, squares in my opponent's half of the board. Quite a few of them, right? Now, I also have two pieces developed to black's one. I've also kind of castled my king, and then, he's now open. So the idea now is to bring this bishop around and replace Gary with a ecclesiastical version. So black now castles, and now we have this situation, right? So we've got, if you look at the way the pawns are here, we've got a little bit of, we've already got a blockage here. We really need to be sensitive about these blockages in the middle of the board, because this bishop ain't going to be doing anything in this game. This rook, this knight possibly could find his way in, right? But as things stand, this bishop and queen are the active pieces right now. But as things stand, castling in this direction at this point in the game may prove to be a weakness for black. Also consider the fact that black he's removed Gary. He sent Gary off for an early bath, right? And that's, he had to give up his knight, he had to give up something. So he, as a desperado move, he took out Gary. But in taking out Gary, he's created white with a semi-open file, right? And yes, that's a weakness potentially for white, but let's say I stick my king here. Let's say I stick my rook here. I'm not sure whether this is a good move. And you could analyze it. So now I just push c3, okay? So it's fairly quiet. I'm just solidifying my my structure, but I am also thinking I want to bring my bishop here. I want to line up all my stuff against that guy, that king there. Black now pushes f5. Now I have an opportunity here of en passant, okay? But I have other ideas, okay? So I just retreat my bishop back now, to just to protect the king. And now I'm thinking, okay, let's take advantage of this. I want to get my knight off the back rank. I want to get my most powerful pieces, my major pieces, and we want to attack, maybe even throw Harry up, okay? But this is an oversight on my part, big oversight. Pawn's defended by rook, and this square is covered by bishop and queen. So now it's my turn for a desperado kind of move. So, what do I do? Do I capture the pawn and bring the rook out into the game, right? Or do I allow the pawn to capture me? And I decide here, with this lack of g-pawn, right, I'm figuring I would quite fancy having an open h-file. So I decide to sit back and just play my bishop to here, okay, which was the plan anyway, allow black to capture me, recapture with Harry. So Harry now promotes to being the new Gary. Harry is the new Gary, okay, and now we have a semi-open h-file, and again, look at black's development. He hasn't got any, right? So we've got a situation here. We've both blundered effectively a minor piece. Material is equal. My king is relatively safe, as a matter of fact, but I have this nice kind of corner of the board to work with. So black now pushes g6. Not 100% sure I approve of that. I mean, that pawn is now a target for this bishop potentially. We could see some bishop suicide maneuvers. And still, look, all of this stuff is just still in the box. Okay, line up the bishop and the queen. Okay, so I'm definitely thinking now about, you know, sack, queen in, right? Rook here, it's all over. It's all over in a couple of moves. So now he's got to do something desperate. So this. So now sack, queen in. He can interpose the rook. Okay, that prevents mate. So what do? Right, it's not time to attack yet. We need to line up all of our forces. Okay, get the rook on here. Get two rooks on here. Okay, rook now comes across. Again, he's just neglecting all of these things here, right? Rook h8 pushes a pawn. Okay, now I think the reason for this is at least gives his knight a square where it can come in. Okay, so his knight could come two jumps and it defends this, as we shall see. So now I'm thinking, is it time to attack? Not just yet. Let's bring in everybody. Invite everyone. Okay, this is a party for everybody. Okay, so now the knight is starting to come round. Okay, this is where you can really feel the effect of this crampedness here. Okay, double up the rooks. Rook A to H1. Okay, and now I've got 1, 2 lined up against here. I've got 1, 2 lined up against here. Okay, even the knights might come in and join the fun. Knight comes round defending this. This is now defended 1, 2, 3 times. Okay, once, twice, 3 times a lady or a horsey. Okay. And now, what is the point of this move? Okay, well, I'm vacating this square. Okay, because this knight can't come to here right now because it's guarded twice, as we've seen before. You know, the bishop and queen there are quite powerful. Okay, so but I want to get my knight in, but I can't go straight here and I can't go straight here. Maybe arguably I could have gone there, but from there, where am I going to go? Am I going to take that out? It's defended 1, 2, 3 times. Or am I going to come here, where it's defended by pawn? Probably not. So the idea is, pivot the knight round to here, where it's on a light square, where it can look at these two squares, both of which happen to come with check. Okay. Queen starts to shuffle across, like a South Park character. Okay, now the knight is starting to reposition. Bishop comes out with a half-hearted attack. I mean, this is actually just about black's strongest piece so far in the game. Half-hearted attack against a knight that's really doing nothing. It's only moved once, right? So I figure you want to take that knight out, you can. But anyway, in comes that knight anyway. Hits the bishop back, right? So now I've just improved my knight. And now my other knight comes in to join the party. Pushes another pawn, for reasons best known unto himself. Here I'd have certainly have considered something like that. You know, just get material in, surround the president, please. Yeah. And now I have an option. Is it time to start the attack now? And I figure it kind of is, right? This knight's in a pretty defensive role. This knight's ready to attack. Both rooks, everything, okay, is lined up against this corner. So, how do we start? We've got knight here, we've got knight there. I could even go there, but we've now got 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces defending that pawn. So, I decide to go in knight to f6 check, because it comes with a fork on the queen as well, and that's going to force the bishop to capture. And when the bishop captures, pawn takes bishop, and now we've got an attack on the rook, and the rook going to have to move. So the rook moves to there. All right, and we continue. Knight e5, hit the rook again, can't go there, can't go there, can't go there. There's actually only one safe square for the rook to go. I mean, it could take the pawn as well. Okay, so the rook goes here. And now what have we got? Actually, I mean, that's pretty good as well. I play knight takes g6. Okay, I'm just removing that all-important pawn in front of the king. Looking for a trade of knights. We trade knights, we trade queens, we trade everything off. Okay, now, this is the point in the game. 2 minutes 35 in a 5-minute game. I really could have sat and pondered the whether this is a decisive attack, because I am actually down 1 piece. My opponent has a bishop, right? I have an extra pawn, okay, but this rook, we can't count that rook as material. Okay? It's not playing a material role unless this bishop moves and actually blocks that rook. Right? This rook is not yet in the game, so it's very much a question of time, of tempo. If I can attack and if I can make a decisive attack now, I actually have a material advantage in terms of, you know, ready cash. You know, it's like my opponent has assets that he can liquidate in order to create cash, but he hasn't done it yet. Okay, so as things stand, I have more readies than my opponent. Now, it could be possible to figure out the whether this is a winning attack, and in fact it is a winning attack, but I didn't figure it out first. Okay, so obviously we start with rook h8 check, and the king has to come off the back rank and can't go there or there. So there's only one move, and it's going to be this. Okay, and now rook 1 to h7, and again there's only one move, which is this. Okay, and now I'm looking at this now, so I consider now this, right? King can't come on the 7th rank because of my rook. I could have actually just simply grabbed a rook here as well. Okay, I saw that he could take me. I didn't see that I could take him in the heat of the moment. So this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking rook here. What's he got? Okay, now, so the beauty of playing in the browser is you can colour in squares. So clearly he can't go to any of these. If the rook is here, he can't go to any of these. He can't go to there because of the pawn. So he's got to come here, right? So then I thought, well, it would be great to play f4 and then this. But then I thought, oh no, my rook, right? I should have just took his rook and won, actually. This, and then the bishop's actually pinned, and I would have won the bishop and just gone on to win easily. But this is sexier. Okay, so we've got one square, right? But I can't take immediately because he can trade his way out of trouble. So I play the rook here first and force him to this square, then f4, right? And he's only got, again, one square because these are all covered, right? So he has to come here. Now rook here is actually check and mate. And that is quite a beautiful forcing mate sequence. What I would like to do in terms of my own development is to, and finishing with 2 minutes 20 on the clock, you know, I could have spent that, yeah? that's 2 minutes 20 I'll just give back to the house, but I think my next step of growth is to say, okay, well, let's figure this through, right? It's not that many moves, right? But in the end, what I like about this game is it's just such a kind of I took the time and I lined everything up. It's like all these spaceships, looming over a planet before the attack starts, and so you can see your opponent sweating there thinking, oh, there's more arriving, and I haven't mobilized my pieces. Interesting stuff. And that already came from the start of the game. He's moved his knight a second time. Okay, and he's moving these same pieces again, and he falls for this. And this is a big problem. Okay, so this is move 6 of the game. He's under a double attack. He's now got to give up material, and now his bishop has to retreat. Okay, and already at the end of move 7, he's behind in development, and he's got nothing on this side of the board, right? Normally, when you develop your kingside minor pieces, you want to get your king castle, but normally also you've got some control over the centre of the board, and you're on your way to completing development. He's not, and he paid the price in the end because I was able to bring my bishop back into the attack, and I do really think that his next move, castling that way, was probably unwise. So interesting game, kind of quickie. Thought I'd share it with you. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you've picked up one or two things. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.